Hey, everybody. Thanks for downloading this episode of the Black and Gold podcast brought to you by Boonshine Brewing Company. And folks, remember the Oktoberfest Beer Festival is October 4th, this Saturday. You got beer. I don't know if you knew that. Oktoberfest have beer, food, and music. It's going to be from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Free entry. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't there a football game on Saturday? And there is. But for those of you that are going to be up there and don't have plans to tailgate, you got plenty of time before the game to check out Oktoberfest. And if it's a really bad game, I guess you could leave early and go catch the tail end of it if you wanted to. They're going to have Stein holding competition, which I don't know if Charles has been training for or not, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And remember the Double Hazy IPA, the Nuclear Seahorse, which is a beer I never thought we'd see at Boonshine. It's resurfaced, now pouring on draft and available in 4-packs. As elusive as a Hellbender and as rare as a Pegasus, this hazy hop bomb is brewed with local barley, toasted oats, and a trio of Hallertau Blanc. Oh man, I'm is
Yes.
that? Do you know how to pronounce that?
No, but I just enjoy you giving it a whirl.
Hallertau Blanc, Sabro, and Idaho 7 hops. I'm sick of Idaho at this point. Expect waves of white grape, tropical vanilla, and ripe tangerine in every sip. Smooth, juicy, dangerously drinkable. This radioactive sea creature might be hazardous material. And remember, folks, this weekend, go buy Boonshine. If you're going to go sit in the game, you're going to go sit there and watch the Appalachian State Mountaineers play football, go buy Boonshine beer. Don't drink that nasty Coors and Michelob. Get yourself a Boonshine. They sold more Boonshine in the last game than they ever have. It was a record. Keep up the good work. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. I'm your host, Alex Johnson. With me, as always, the world's most famous App State fan, who I think in between our segments here, we just got done. Were you training for the Stein holding
No, it
competition,
was
Big
not.
C? No? Okay. I was
Um,
just checking.
that's not made for me. My arms are too long, and
A
that's
lot of
just
leverage.
not good. I'll be one of those dudes like bending over, backwards, like trying to keep that arm up. Nobody wants to see that.
No, you're right. It's another week. Feel better this week. Last week's episode was pretty heavy, and we're happy to be further and further separated from tragic events. Time does march on, and we did have a post game, which wasn't the best against a really talented Boise State team. The more I thought about it, we have a late game, go to sleep, you wake up, and then within an hour you're awake. You start recording the episode, you have very little time to digest. Boise was a good team. It's a really good team. I don't think that was as self-inflicted as I had originally thought. Still certainly very much self-inflicted, but we went up against a very talented team, which I know we'll probably end up talking about and addressing in the hashtag BGP Mail Satchel. But before we do that, let's get into Olympic sports here. We have some. I think this is probably the coolest thing to happen so far early on in season 11. But before we talk about that, Styles Roofing, for those of you in the greater Charlotte area, if you have roof problems, that's where you need to call. Appalachian State alumnus Billy Styles, 704-842-1874. They're going to get the job done fast. They're going to do a great job, and they're not going to get paid until the job's complete and you're satisfied. So everybody, Mooresville, Huntersville, Ballantyne, Shelby, Mitten Hill, whatever, everybody around, Styles Roofing is what you need to remember for your roof repair and replacement needs. And Community One Insurance. I know everybody's listening to this. They want to save money, and there are not many times in life you can save money and get better service. But with Community One Insurance, you can, whether you're covering your boat, your house, your car, business insurance, whatever your insurance needs are. Give Matthew Johnson or Zach Ligon a call or a shout or an email or whatever. Stop at the tailgate and, I don't know, give them a noogie. I don't know what to tell you. Both Walker College of Business graduates from the Brantley Risk Management and Insurance program. Love insurance, no insurance, and more than that, love working with Appalachian State fans. To get in touch with them, 828-455-2335 is where you can text or call Matthew Johnson, or you can go to communityoneInsurance.com and check them out there. I want to start, Charles, with I think the coolest thing to have so far in season 11 here is the field hockey team is ranked number 17th in the country. They played Bellarmine or Bellarmine. Yikes, I always forget how to pronounce that. On Friday, 1-2-0. But the real magic here was on Sunday afternoon. They played number 18 James Madison and beat them in overtime, 5-4. But now the Appalachian State Mountaineer field hockey team, 8-1, 3-0 in conference with a 4-game winning streak. Charles ranked 17th in the country. Very, very proud of these ladies and very excited for the success that has continued with this field hockey program.
And it seems like if I had to guess, I mean, this is big, obviously, beating James Madison, a ranked James Madison team that gives you a conference game, conference win, not a Sun Belt win, a MAC win in overtime, the walk-off. But this team maybe they kind of knew what they had in them because, if you go back to the beginning of the season, we had a couple of exhibitions. One was against North Carolina, and when we played North Carolina later for actual for the purposes of the record back on September 12th, like we lost them, but North Carolina's number 2 in the country. So we gained somehow there. So what a neat story. I did not have this anywhere near my bingo card, as the kids say, as what could happen in the fall season for App Sports. But man, what a great accomplishment. I think that is just huge. And then of course, this week we have 2 big ones coming up at home Friday afternoon, against Miami. Miami is good. They're the team in the MAC that we really, in the last couple of years, we've gone down to the wire with them. And, as far as MAC tournament play, and then Sunday against Liberty, they're number 6 in the country. Both of those will be on YouTube. So you can watch these, or you can attend them because you're going to be in town, right? Mm-hmm. So a couple big matches that'll really give us an idea who we are, where we are, and what's going on. This could be a really, really special season, not just because we got ranked, because we beat our ranked James Madison, but the opportunities present themselves. And we don't have to travel to Ohio for a conference tournament. We just got to go to up to JMU. So man, things are really looking up for the field hockey team.
Yeah, I think Coach Dinsmore is doing such a great job. I mean, we've really been good. I mean, legitimately very good in field hockey. So very excited to see their progress. As for soccer, only one game to report here. We beat South Alabama on a Friday afternoon, 1-0. We have not scored more than 1 goal in a game since September 7th when we beat Steve Krug's mighty Longwood Lancers. And even before that, so we scored 3 goals then, but then we haven't scored a goal period past that since Davidson, August 21st. So not really the offensive firepower for this team this year, but clearly the defense is working. But a conference win nonetheless, Charles. We are sitting at 1-2-1, which sounds like a really good basketball defense to a point in conference play. 3-2 at home, 5-5-1 overall, with a matchup against Coastal this week on Thursday, and then a home conference game against JMU.
Yep. Izzy Wood gets the goal off a penalty kick in the 66th minute. South Alabama's always had a pretty good women's soccer program down there, so it's a good win, good bounce back from not getting anything through the net last week.
In JMU, so moving on to volleyball here, we had talked about JMU coming to town, and JMU seems to be it's a good athletics program. They have good programs up and down their roster of sports, and we split with them Friday evening, take them down 3-1, but they returned the favor on Saturday, taking us out 1-3. So we come out of the weekend splitting our opening conference matchup. We're still 10-3 overall. But what we're looking at now, heading down, I guess we'd be heading down on Thursday. My guess would be down to Lafayette to play the Cajuns Friday and Saturday. So we're in conference season, back-to-back matches, and this is just how it's going to be Friday evening and then early afternoon on Saturdays. Looks like how this will be. I don't know anything about Louisiana, but it's at least a solid start to conference play. You want to start sweeping some of these, making some ground, but Louisiana is on deck, Charles.
Yeah, Louisiana's on deck, and I'll answer the question for you, AJ. They're 9-3 overall. They're 1-1 in conference play. They've played a lot of teams down their way, and in Texas schools, and it's in volleyball, and we all know that there's a lot of volleyball players in Texas. So that's this could be a good weekend of volleyball as far as a good match is concerned. Louisiana doesn't really have like a bunch of like great wins on their record, but they did get past. They kind of had a similar weekend as we did with JMU. They last weekend they beat Texas State 3-1 and then lost 0-3 the next night down in San Marcos. So this should be a good one. This will tell us who we are. This will probably mean a lot going forward for setting up down the road for tournament play.
Very good. Okay, so we are getting very dangerously close to overlap season here, crossover season. It's hard to believe October's almost here. The tip-off dinner, which is sold out, by the way, for basketball, which is awesome, is this Friday, and it's just right around the corner. So we'll have certainly more sports to report on coming soon, including wrestling. But for now, that's great. And we're going to move on to the hashtag BGP Mail Satchel here, and it's brought to you by Blue Deer Cookies, downtown Boone, downtown Blowing Rock, and in West Jefferson. It remains just the coolest spot to hang out in Boone to get a coffee. And it's delicious coffee, by the way, the best in the high country, and a sweet treat. Get a milkshake, get an ice cream sandwich. We actually came to Boone on Saturday and spent the day, which is awesome. And we spent some time at Blue Deer, got that new apple pie ice cream, which is very tasty, along with some cookies and cream. And it was great. Had ourselves a good old time. So we thank Blue Deer Cookies for sponsoring the show. Best submission gets a card to Blue Deer to get an ice cream sandwich. So we're looking forward to that. I'm going to get some in the email. We got a lot here, so we'll probably have to curate this, and keep in mind we do have a very full mail satchel. I didn't mention this earlier too. We have Brendan Slaughter, who's the On3 Beaver's Edge website guy for Oregon State. I should have mentioned that earlier. He's our special guest. We actually just recorded with him, which is probably why I thought I already mentioned it. We've already recorded that segment, but he's coming later on in the show. But here is Brian Calloway emails us. I'm just going to read it here. Not a very good game by ASU. Okay, and again, we're not going to rehash everything about Boise, but I do appreciate people emailing. Let me just say this right off the bat. Boise is a better team than we are. It looked like their offensive line was superior than ours. Their skilled players looked faster. Their quarterback was light years beyond and more efficient. That being said, we were in the game until halfway through the third quarter. I was pleased with our effort till the wheels came off with more bad quarterback play. I was wondering your thoughts about why we played the freshman quarterback for such a short time. Seems like wasted time to me. And by the way, the coaching staff put him in the offense in a bad spot right away by not getting the team onto the field in time. Getting the delay of game for the snaps is not acceptable. Doing a little research, Boise is the biggest school in Idaho with an enrollment of over 24,000. They don't have nearly as much competition for public or private dollars. Their athletic budget, $65 million. So all this talk about group of five and us being the same, it's not really true. We need a new quarterback. Swan's not getting it done. 3 bad games in a row is enough. 1's a fluke, 2's a problem, 3's a trend. Thank you for that email, Brian. We have addressed a whole lot of that in the post game, a whole lot. So I'm not going to actually re-legislate that. Go back and listen to our post game. We do touch on that. However, and I think this was mentioned in Facebook, Charles, so I don't want to step on anybody's toes here, but it is important to note that, and we could save this for, I'm pretty sure it's in the Facebook group, with the Boise element. In North Carolina, we have, what is it? 7 FBS schools? There's 4 in the 3 in the Triangle, Winston, us, Greenville, Charlotte. Yeah, it's 7. And the competition for dollars, and talking about North Carolina budget and revenues and everything else, is very tough. It's very tough, especially having gone through what we went through with Helene. Boise, I'm not saying Boise doesn't face their own hardships, but Boise has been doing it at a higher level longer. They have they own Idaho from a flagship perspective. I know there's University of Idaho, which we're very familiar with, not recently, however. It's just different. and they do have a much larger budget. They have a budget that is 50% larger than ours. And I've heard a lot of feedback from folks that the experience, stadium experience, speakers, in-game, everything was just at a higher level than ours. Well, I mean, that's to be expected. When you're funded more, you've been competing at that particular level higher. That is to be expected. But that is a very interesting dynamic that it's not apples to apples. We are not competing for public dollars and funding the same way Boise is. Now, Boise could turn around and say, yeah, but North Carolina has more people. They have more dollars. That's fair. Everybody fights their own fight, I guess. But I do think we saw a difference in just where programs are. And Boise certainly is no slouch. They are not a run-of-the-mill in the bell curve G5 team. They are at the far end of the G5 spectrum, on the very, very end. They're closer to the UCFs and Cincinnati's of the world that cross over into the Big 12 than they are to us. So it's interesting.
There's a lot to kind of break down there, right? There's a lot of things at play. I think one point here is that they are remote, and that was somewhat mentioned or hinted at, but you also got to consider that Idaho is a big deal there. Like the University of Idaho, the Vandals, the former member of the Sun Belt, who now has dropped down to FCS football. Mm-hmm. So since we've been in FBS, and so this was a move that was made in the 90s for Boise State. So this is not a move that was made almost 20 years later like we did. So yeah, there is a lot of pulling and tugging. I do know. I remember hearing years ago about why is Boise successful. What is it? And they're like, a lot of these kids are from California, and California is a football-rich talent state, and the options there just aren't as many. The Eastern Time Zone and the Central Time Zone own college football. That is why we've had the Pac-12 break apart, is so that they can get in front of the eyeballs, because that is why Maryland left the ACC, and all these things we have seen like that has happened over the last 20 years is so you can have those eyeballs, so you can get in front of people, so you can be that team that plays at a certain time and plays against certain opponents and shares all that money, right? And Boise has done a good job of being like the team that anybody wants to watch out west, for the most part, outside of those teams from the Pac-12 that went to the Big Ten. So they have that, and they've sustained it. And, you could probably say, well, there's a reason Idaho's back in FCS again. It's because Boise State was so darn good. I don't have any hard evidence to say that, but there's got to be something to it besides that they play in an airplane hangar and all that good stuff. But they have taken that blue turf, and they have taken a football stadium that really, I'm not gonna say it looked like ours, but there were similarities in there was a track, and they've gotten rid of the track, and they've built around it, and they've continued to build. And so if you are fighting for entertainment, what do you want? You want people to go to your games, and they want people to have a good time. I've heard a lot about atmosphere around the stadium, right?
Yeah.
So the weather is very different there. I've heard it's more of a bar scene, not a tailgate scene, and but that's football in the West and not football in the South. We do not resemble what goes on everywhere else. If you go to all those California schools, you see it like they don't have that attendance. They don't have the Ole Misses and going in, NC State and Auburn and LSU, and where the party is as soon as the sun comes up, and sometimes before. And we kind of more resemble that scene, and that is at a Southern tailgating, right? And that is at its best. They do it, great in other places in the North. Sure, Penn State was great, Michigan was fine, but it's just different. So as much as we want to put ourselves on the same, platform as Boise, it's not. It's just a complete. It's not an apples to apples comparison. No, I don't believe
it's not. No, but I mean, again, I think the thing to remember is Appalachian makes its name, and it has its reputation punching up. We don't brag on how look, we're so good against peers. We punch up. You know, we held the nation captive on a Thursday night on September 1st in 2016 because we punched up against Tennessee and scared them to death. And that's playing above our weight class. That's how we get it. We're not Appalachian isn't going to ever be known as the look how well they dominate their peers necessarily. It'll always be something you got to do. You got to check that box. But from just a really objective standpoint, in several ways, Boise's a peer, but in other ways they're not. They're just a little further down the road institutionally, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. We should have. I think actually what Coach Loggins said in the press conference. I wish I would have taken notes during that. He actually, I think, gives really good press conferences. He said that I think he was accurate that the mistakes that we continue to make cost us a win at Southern Miss, and it cost us from being competitive against Boise State. Boise State's a really good team. Our mistakes didn't necessarily cost us a win at Boise State. It cost us an opportunity to play them competitively, which we didn't. Boise's a really good team. They've been a really good team, a really good program in their own way, in their own niche. They figured out what they're good at and where they fit in that region of the country. And they do a great job. That's very clear from it. And I haven't heard anybody say anything bad about the trip other than the score and the performance on the field. But that it was a step up. The thing I've heard has been the experience in stadium, just around or whatever. The whole Boise experience was a step higher in quality than they anticipated, and that's something that we're ultimately Appalachian State wants to always go grow and get better and reach new levels of quality. But I think Boise surprised some people in that way, which is great. And again, wish we could have gone.
Yeah, sounds like the people are very similar to the people of Wyoming, that they were very hospitable and all that good stuff. But it certainly sounds from what I can hear is that Wyoming had more of a tailgate scene than Boise did, like, outdoors, under tents, parking lots, etc.
Which is more our people, which is understandable.
Right. Exactly.
Cody Hamby, real quick. I want to read it from Cody. This is our Seattle guy here. AJ and Charles, Boise fans were great to us all in black and gold. The travel to the Pacific Northwest. See, he put PNW, but I knew what that meant. Pacific Northwest. But the outcome led to some strong Boise Blues. With that behind us and an optimistic spin, this could be the turning point for App to play well as a team. If the team protects and moves the ball, eliminates turnovers, they could get a quality win off the 0-5 Beavers. What are you most excited to see from Appalachian in the next game? I'm excited, Charles. I'll just be brief with this. I think I'm excited to see us play what is certainly going to be our toughest opponent all year, which was Boise. How we adjust and come back from that, where we're not going against those level of players on the road. We're back home. How are we going to respond? I'm always interested in that. Have a tough loss, get beat up, get your face kicked in. How are you going to respond to it? And I think, again, Coach Loggins made some good points. They're still figuring stuff out. You can say what you want about a lot of things, but it is early in the season with 55 new players and a new coaching staff. They are still figuring it out. Whether that makes us all happy or not is one thing, but I want to see how we respond, body language, top to bottom, on Saturday.
The 55 new players have, it's October now, right? That can only go so far. They've been together, practicing week in, week out, for now 2 months. And so I think that, at some point that becomes a little, loses a little steam, right? I want us to do something we haven't done, is put together a complete game. I hope the second home game jitters just go away. I thought that was a concern going into Lindenwood. It's like, hey, we've got all these new players. They've never played. A lot of them have never played at Kid Brewer yet before. And now that won't be a thing. So maybe they can relax or be more comfortable. But, a lot of these guys didn't grow up idolizing the Beaver on the helmet, right? That's going to be new. That's going to be different. This isn't like hosting a P4, P5, whatever team of that nature that was. This is not like when you're playing Wake Forest, who's a team that probably recruited a lot of the guys on the team.
Yeah.
This is not idolizing the U. in that. It's not the
That
interlocking NC, the Carolina Blue, and all those little things that go with it. This is a complete stranger at the dinner table. So how will we welcome them, and then how will we treat them with the utmost respect, and then also score more points than they do after 60 minutes of football is what I'm most looking forward to see.
Skin them pelts. We're going into Twitter here. Jason Hutchins, with the defense playing as good as they can, yes, they still can't cover plays in the flats. Wow, Jason. What do you think the demise of the offense is? That's the easiest. It's turning the ball over in quarterback play and drops. I mean, that's what that is. I mean,
and what leads to that? Not having enough time in the pocket.
That doesn't hurt it. I mean, that didn't help it for sure. I mean, for sure. All that's connected. Would AJ Swan have thrown the way he did or played the way he did had he had Boise's offensive line? No. There would have been more opportunities for him to have different reads, more opportunities for wide receivers to get open, more time. If you give any offense enough time, somebody gets open. That's why you want to get the quarterback.
Yes, the people chase ball. That is what this game is all about. You got to go get it, whoever's hands it's in. And if it's the quarterback, you got to make him feel it that he still has it. That's where this game starts and ends.
Yeah, but and you're absolutely right. I mean, offensive line we lost at the line of scrimmage. I think more on the offensive line than on defensive. I think defensive line was, I think we were outmatched with their front, but offensive line did not play as well. I'm hoping that I know Jaden Ramsey does not. He's limping there, lining back up, out of the huddle. So I know he didn't feel great. And I know we didn't have our starting right tackle. So already we're kind of like our batteries aren't all the way charged there. But that's the best defense we're probably going to play this year. I don't want to I know we're playing James Madison. I don't know, but coming to Oregon State, all due respect to the Beavers, I'm hoping that we can shake things up on offensive line. It's a great point, Charles. David Allen, CEO, asks, "What is Yosef's favorite animal?" I think he likes beaver pelts.
That's the easy response there. So
I don't understand what this is. I don't understand. Do you know who David Allen is?
I don't know if I remember meeting him personally, but
I guess I kind of put you on the spot there. So apologies.
Apologies if I haven't met you, David, and I've forgotten.
So I don't understand this question. Is it true that Big C blows on hot Cheetos because he thinks they're too hot? I don't know.
Did we were talking the other day about something being less spicy or something like that. Yeah. I can't remember.
That's a reference to something we said.
Bring me those flaming hot Cheetos. I'll eat those.
If I'm gonna eat something that's truly hot, I want to be near a bathroom that I'm familiar with. I just want to be near it. I don't say I'm going to use it. I just want to be near it.
I just want to have that backup.
I want something to be accessible. I don't want to have to run to a gas station. This is from Weta. With App's successful history of being a run-first offense, what's the thinking behind shifting to more of a pass-first approach? Charles, we texted earlier a little bit about the trend line here. I think be tied to something for sure. I don't think there's a desire to be one or the other. I think there's a desire to use plays that work. And I think that speaks to what we just talked about the offensive line. If the offensive line was, I hate to say stuff like this because it sounds so nasty, but if the coach thought the offensive line was capable to get chunk yardage with run plays to control the clock to get first downs, I think we'd be doing it more. That's my thought there.
Right. And I think last week I talked about how, Dominion really hasn't busted a long run, and he had one, right? So, of course, and, that works out just dandy, of course. As soon as you mention it, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Announcers jinx. But I think if you look back at the last 5 years, like you look at who our quarterbacks are any of these guys dual threat? Is AJ Swan dual threat?
No.
Is Joey Aguilar dual threat?
No.
Is Chase Bryce dual threat?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, exactly. He'll get you that first yard.
Yeah.
Where all these guys come from? They didn't start here. They didn't start in Boone. They started their career somewhere else. And then if you look at all the App State quarterbacks in the past that were, Where did they start? They came here first. I'm
Yeah.
not saying there's anything. Maybe that's just the way it is, and that's what you can get. That's with the portal. You have there's this big, massive availability of kids that came out of high school, and if they want to be a quarterback, well, the best way to do that is to be a thrower of the football. And there's a big transition from, FCS ball and literally just getting first downs and putting your best player in the backfield and doing that versus now that you be a distributor. And obviously you have a coaching staff that is more in tune to that. So Dowell Long is certainly an NFL guy. We know what happens in the NFL. You got to throw to win. Throw to get points, win, run the ball to finish games, right? And so that's what he's talked about. It seems like we haven't got that formula yet, right? Because we are having to run to move the ball to give our defense a rest, and the passing game has not. It certainly wasn't there last week. It existed at Southern Miss, but that got us into trouble as well. So we're in an interesting balance right now, and trying to figure out which chords to really strike at the right time. That might be something we have to battle with all year.
Yeah. So I broke this down, Charles. I sent this to you earlier. I was just curious because, why are we doing this? Why are we a pass first instead of whatever? I think it comes down to personnel and the elements that you just brought up. But just for fun, I wanted to look back at the last 10 years just to see what percentage of our plays as a whole were run versus pass. I just think this is fascinating. And I'll just say that it's majority over the last 10 years, it's majority run until last year. And last year was an even split, virtually an even split, 50-50. 2015, we ran the ball 67% of the time. 16, 63% of the time. 17, 60% of the time. 18, 63. 19, 62%. 2020, 64%. So that's basically the length of Taylor Lamb and Zach Thomas, their eras that sat, and that's 1 year a drink. And then Clark's first year in 2020, that was Zach Thomas's last year. Chase Bryce comes on the scene, and then our percentage of rushing plays drops from 64 to 58%, and then 57% his 2 years. With Joey's, it was 53% and 50%. I think a lot of that has to do with the confidence that the coaches have in the offensive line, because if you look at the percentage of first downs that come by way of rushing, it's overwhelmingly rush until 2021. And then it shifts down to actually we get more passing first downs after 2020. And so I think that's a combination of things. One, Chase Bryce is not that dual threat. Like you said, Charles, Zach Thomas had the capability defense had to account for him. And shout out Taylor Lamb. You had to account for him too. He was a sneaky good athlete too. He won second Camellia Bowl with his legs. But when you got Chase Bryce and Joey Aguilar, and then I think you have an underperforming over time offensive line, there's not as much confidence to run the ball. So you have a quarterback's not as much of a dual threat. Better passer, probably. Offensive line is not as good. All that formula kind of points to we have to throw more now to convert. To me, I don't like that. We're old school. We like running the ball, and I want my quarterback throwing 22 times a game, not 38 times a game. But I think if the offensive line can move people around and we can keep the ball on the ground safely, I think that's the way you go. So I think that personnel really is determining that. I don't know. That's what I think. Dropping Logs. It's a great name. Are we a basketball school now, Charles? I don't know where this is coming from. We have it's not basketball season.
Yeah, is that the end of the question and comment? Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot on social media where it's we're this school, we're that school. And I think that just kind of
we're a field hockey school.
Yeah, field hockey school or volleyball school, whatever. It's just I'm going to guess here that it's less about giving props to those
of course.
sports who are doing good versus dissing the team that is not doing as well.
Yeah, I think that is a safe bet. AppFan24, Yosef hands you a genie in a bottle. You get 2 wishes. Wish number 1. Have you seen this already?
I saw half of it.
Okay. So you saw wish 1. Okay. On offense, you can add 1 skill player or 2 linemen from any of our FBS era teams. Which option and who? Wish number 2. On defense, you can add 2 players from any of our FBS teams, but they have to be at different levels of defense.
I think I'm going to go with the offensive option right now. And I feel like what we're missing is like a physical receiver. So someone who's going to go up and contest, catch the ball, say that ball is mine, whether he's covered or not, and then little yak yards, right? Go put his hat on somebody, go get the first down, with physicality. And I'm going to say a Thomas Hennigan type wide receiver. And then, as far as like a lineman, is that the other option here?
So what they asked is, you with the first wish, there's a fork in the road. You can have 1 skill player, or you can choose 2 linemen.
I'm gonna take that skill player. I'm gonna take a Thomas Hennigan. Like, here's what we know he's not gonna do. He's not gonna drop the ball.
No.
What he's gonna do, he's going to make sure he scores, and he is going to.
He's gonna draw the defense.
He's gonna make you play him. So yeah, that's my lean right now, and not. I'm gonna
take Cooper Hodges at right tackle.
Okay,
and I'm gonna take Parker Collins on the interior, because I think, and Newsel is a great player too. Newsel probably is a better interior player than Parker, but I think Parker was so mean that I think he would maybe will some of his other boys to be as mean as him. That's what I'm doing on option 1. And by the way, I did think like Thomas Hennigan, like that would have been a great choice as well. No, on defense, you're adding 2 players from any FBS team, but they can't play the same position. So you can't do 2 linemen, 2 linebackers. Like, you can't pick John Law and Akeem Davis-Gaither. Like, who are you picking? This was kind of. I thought this was like it's hard and easy at the same time.
Yeah, like it's like I think when I stumbled across this earlier today, I was like, I'm going to choose one or the other. So I didn't even think for a second about the defensive part. But a pass rusher would be nice. A true elite pass rusher, like a Nick Hampton, somebody like that. Maybe a even if that was like a Meach, or Ronald Blair type, where he at some point he's going to be in the backfield. He's going to be backfield real quickly, and he's going to make plays and force that quarterback to do something before he wants to. And then I would love to have. I feel like we've done pretty well, turn the ball over on that end. Maybe another sideline to sideline backer with some experience. So even if that was a Devin Stringer, covering boundary, he's undersized, but he's going to be where he's supposed to be, and he's going to be a sure tackler.
That's a great pick. I mean, Stringer is one of my favorite players. So I thought that, on this team, I think our strength is, whether we have 4 true down linemen or one's maybe more of like a heavy linebacker or whatever, I think we're doing a pretty decent job at the line on defense. You tempted to just throw Ronald Blair in there and call it a day and just say, go Ronald Blair. And but at the same time, I do think we could have a little more intensity and speed sideline to sideline. I'm thinking Akeem Davis-Gaither and Shamar Jean-Charles are maybe the 2 that I'm taking. Shamar Jean Charles basically solidifies like, the at least part of the field from the passing game. We can have him take care of whatever their biggest threat is, and he was just the best corner of the FBS era, maybe ever. So I'm taking Shamar Jean Charles, and I think Akeem Davis Gaither, although Devin Stringer would be really tempting as well. But for the same reason, like speed and intensity, sideline to sideline, but also can rush and just is just a really big problem for defenses to have to deal with. Maybe I don't know. I love that question, by the way. It's very intricate. So at Fan24, DM your address so I can send you a card. Maybe we have another good question and I'll give another one away, but I really like that one. That was very, very cool. Let me see where we are. Walter Johnson. This is not spelled Johnson properly. Johnson. If we win the toss on Saturday, should we like to receive? Past 2 years, we've frequently seen the other team march on the field against us and score. Then our offense panics and we get blown out. If we can score first drive, offense gets confidence, and defense gets momentum. I'd like to know what Logan's like philosophy is here, but I kind of like just putting your offense out there and saying like, look, we're struggling with this. Rip the Band-Aid off, get out there and do it. Don't let it linger. I know like you play scientifically and say, nope, we're going to defer to the second half. Maybe that's what you always really want to do, but I like the idea of just ripping the Band-Aid off and making a side of the ball that hadn't been great. Go set the tone. Go do it.
The last 2 games we never had the lead.
Yeah.
So I'm, whether it's psychological or there's some actual analytics to it. Games we won, we did have the lead at some point. So I'm going to go that direction. If they believe you got something you can do to them, if they're vulnerable to the pass a little bit. I mean, we thought that was something we can work with last week. Not so fast. But if you want to keep your crowd in the game, then I think that's what you need to do. You need to get up early.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
So
I agree.
If we do that by choosing to receive, then so be it.
So be it. M. Halbert asks, if we had played Oregon State's schedule, would we be 0-5 as well? Hint, yes. And that's him saying that, not me. Although I think I agree. Is a positive of the season so far that we hopefully won't have to hear about how many years of NFL coaching experience the staff has. Go Apps, beat the Beavers.
So, look, you're going to hear from Brendan from On3, Beaver's Edge or whatever it is.
Beaver's Edge, yeah.
Beaver's Edge. I was about to say Beaver's Den. They played Cal.
Beaver's Dam.
Beaver's Den. Whatever.
Yeah.
They played Cal, Fresno State, Texas Tech, Oregon, and Houston. Those were big names. They played 3 of those games at home. They played one in Oregon, in Eugene. Oregon's very good.
Texas Tech.
And Texas Tech has shown something. Obviously, they've given up outside of this Houston game. They've given up 30 points in all the games or more. A couple teams that scored 40 on them. This other game is 24-27 in overtime. So, and they were up late and then gave it away. So, would we be 0-5? Probably. But I'd like to hope we could have snuck a win out at some point. But, you're asking us this after we've gotten housed 2 weeks in a row and not played at home.
Yeah, these are possible hypotheticals. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tough to say, well, absolutely not. I'd like to think if we have played 3 home games at this point to a Houston, I'm going to call them a G5, I don't care, a Fresno, and a Cal, who are those types of teams on the East Coast? So you're talking this year's Virginia Tech, and then like an Army or a Navy, and then I don't know, Duke or Vanderbilt. I feel like I'd like to, Vanderbilt's good, maybe not the best idea, but I'm trying to compare schools that like what if
Yeah.
the Cal to East, if UNC actual had a team, but something along those lines, like I like to think we would have scratched the win out, but no one wants to talk about 0-5 if that's a possibility.
Yeah. I like that. I like the snark. I'm thinking about giving this dude a cookie. Oh, that's tough. I'm gonna write this down.
All right, you
In
got a
Holiday.
finalist.
I like apps 24s. I like that scenario, so I'm sticking to that. But I love the snark there. I am sick of hearing the NFL experience. I think it's overrated. You got good coaches, or you got good coaches. Just coach and go win. I've been tired of the NFL stuff, but I want to win. That's what we want. Ashley Rabin or Rabon, I think it's Rabin. Ashley is written in before, so I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Last year, it was always the fault of coaching from many fans when we had costly turnovers leading to losses in games we could have won. This year, it's the players needing time to develop as the reason for some fans. Well, which is it? Signed, confused App State fan. Ooh, I like that one too.
Yeah, that can certainly bring lots of discussions. At a tailgate, like I could see this conversation going on for like 30 minutes or more.
Be consistent. What is it?
What is it? What is it that you want? Do you want the players to be better? Or you want the coaches to be better? And what I think you're allowing some leniency for some people where others you did not. The old adage, let him get his guys in here, right? That they're usually going to lean toward the players, and the players aren't playing good. But these are the players that this coach brought in, to an extent. So when you have turnover problems and you have penalty problems, you got to go look and see who's making those, who's fumbling, who's dropping the ball, who's throwing picks, etc. So
I think
I think you get real long-winded here and getting way in the weeds, and I don't think that's really healthy right now where we are.
I think that's correct. But like 30,000-foot view, I think if you have team after team after team that have no playmakers, then that is the head coach's failure to recruit and develop with his staff. The head coach is not responsible to go up to each individual position group and make playmakers. His job is to hire a staff that recruits and develops and does a great job and is relentless. So you'll have a down year here and there. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But if you just consistently are having teams that don't have playmakers, aren't getting it done, then it's the coach's fault that those aren't in the field. In the game, certainly, like the Mario Cristobal, like clock management, like last year against Georgia Tech or whatever, like there are micro examples of like that was the coach's fault. Like, why didn't he kneel? Like, what are we doing? But like, Cal Loggins didn't throw 2 pick sixes like the player did. So that's the scale. Those are the scales that you have to balance. Long ways, the coach is picking the players who are on the field, but the players are making the plays. I think there's been a lot of lost nuance with that among a lot of people.
Quarterback last year throw interceptions and kept playing. We had a quarterback this year throwing interceptions and still the starter.
We'll see the mystery of JJ Cole. Like, we don't know what's going on. I do love how Coach Loggins has these press conferences on Monday, and he always has, I'll find out on Tuesday. He's always got news to find out on Tuesday. It's been kind of funny.
It's a long week.
Yeah, it's a long week. Gabe Jones, Gabius Maximus is back. I like that question though, Ashley. You're definitely on the list. Gabe Jones, really impressed with David Larkin's interview at Mountaineer Talk last week. Got me thinking, is there a future Appalachia State head coach on this team currently? Who is it and why? Nothing has stood out to me.
Me neither. Besides, like the idea of a fifth-year senior who's been here his whole time. That gives us the opportunity to know someone a little bit better versus someone who just got here on the bus from wherever.
I think Taylor Lamb, there's going to come a point in his career where he'll get close to an opportunity, and I think he'll want it. I don't think they're going to give a guy that's just been a quarterback's coach the job. I think he's going to have to probably be a coordinator at some point. But
mean,
that's
like,
the close.
Go to Gardner Webb and then East Tennessee State and then Tulsa.
He was never at East Tennessee State.
You're missing the joke.
Oh. Trey Lamb. Okay. I'm talking about former players. Yeah. Didn't even call Trey Lamb. I don't know if that's a great idea. But I think we're both in agreement that I don't think there's no one's coming to mind as future head coach on the roster.
I don't know one. Not right off.
B. Emery, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the rest of the Sun Belt has really struggled in non-conference play more so than we're used to. One, because of this, should we take our hand off the panic button for now? Two, it didn't seem like long ago we thought of the Sun Belt could be the best G5. Is that dream dead? This is right in line. We've talked a lot about this. This is probably the third time we've referenced it this season about the cream of the crop has been skimmed off the top of the whole conference. When the best players leave, there are consequences to that.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a single first or second team all-conference player that is still with their school in the Sun Belt. And that doesn't even, take into, like, I was just thinking about it today. You have Joshua Donald, Santana Hopper, and Jackson Hollifield. And people have kind of I don't know, hold Joey in a different, but Joey had another year of eligibility. He left. So, I mean, you have these players that were starters, a lot of experience who are older, that are not here right now. That absolutely is contributing to the team performance across the conference. They're losing players because you got one or two things. You can either go replace that player. We had to replace Santana Hopper with somebody. So we either get somebody that maybe flew too close to the sun, couldn't compete, right, in a tier above. He had to come back down. Or you had to get somebody that from Charleston Southern who you had to roll the dice and say, could he be as good as Santana Hopper? If he gets up here, could we coach him up? Those are the options, and that's not always going to work out every time. So you hope that those guys can work out, but you kind of know. On one hand, you maybe see somebody that's a little reliable, but his ceiling isn't going to be maybe Joshua Donald. But maybe you got this other guy that was a little more unsuspecting, or you just hope that the high school kid can develop and grow over time. And because of that, I think conferences will go in waves. Charles, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think you'll see out. I just think that's how it works now. I don't think that there are any sustained programs. I think it is, you have a wave of good teams that get scooped up, and then the conference as a whole maybe flattens out a little bit until they build back up if they can.
I think I saw the stat that the Sun Belt was 1-15 against the P4s this year. When Virginia Tech is the team that has already fired their coach, and Old Dominion's the one carrying the banner for those types of wins, that's a problem. That's not supposed to be how it is. That's not a traditional football power. That's not a Marshall or an us or Georgia Southern like we've known in the past to go off and knock off those teams. So yeah, I mean, and this is a different way to ask the same question I think we've got, but what are we to expect? I don't think there's any team in the Sun Belt right now that is like head and shoulders above anybody, and that can't be beat on any Saturday, which is going to make for an interesting who plays who in the championship game, and are those two teams like really representative of the best teams in the belt this year, or really just a team that got hot in November? And it's just hard to compete with. Congrats to the American. I think they got the most P4 wins, but they also have been given the opportunities to have those among the G5, G6 conferences. But those schools also have the money to do so as well. And we've always keep talking about that too. So
yeah,
it's not a good spot to be. It's not really that great.
No.
And I don't know if people are really want to have that conversation of like, do we need to adjust what a successful season looks like?
Yes. Yes.
Are we going to be thrilled? I mean, like, is 7-5 in a bowl game like that? The floor every year versus like when in the past it was like, when we were on FCS, it was like, well, the floor was making the playoffs, right? So you had in the playoffs, you had to go 8-3, at least.
Yep.
And now that bar has been lowered, and is our fan base, our other fan base, is going to be happy with like a just above 500 season and a bowl appearance. I hope that's not where we are. I think App State, is supposed to compete for conference championships, and like that's and year in, year out, not every 4 or 5 years.
In a weird way, in a weird way, this might bring back the appreciation for bowl games for some programs, honestly. And before we get too doom and gloom, we are getting ready to play conference games after this Oregon State game. We're not going to play Boise every week, but we did not look good against Southern Miss. But there is time to, I think, recover and, put our best foot forward against, lesser conference teams going forward. But I've said this I've said this last year. I know I've said this before on the show, but I think the only way you have at our level, at our peer level, a team that rattles the cages on the NY6 you've seen or whatever is if they have a pretty good year where maybe they fly under the radar a little bit or whatever. They have minimal turnover on their roster, and they have enough players underneath, like use like a Colton Ferris this year. Let's say, knock on wood, Colton Ferris has a really good year this year, but maybe not to an extent that someone tries to poach him or whatever. Whatever. Just go with me on this. But then he's really set up to have a great year the year previous. If you have enough of those instances of guys that have already redshirted, played on special teams, maybe they're redshirt freshman year and they're getting bigger, stronger, and the coaches are seeing like these guys are good. If you have enough of those instances, along with hitting well in the portal, and that's kind of a roll of the dice too, then all of that kind of stuff comes together with coaching staff, continuity, and everything else to then have that good year. But pieces have to fall together. Whereas in the past, what you just needed to do was out-recruit your conference peers.
Right.
Just do it. Just out-recruit them. But now different pieces have to fall into place for that to happen. And we're stuck trying to have those pieces fall into place right now. But that to me is the way that in our circles, in our peer group, that's how you reach 10 wins, is if something like that happens.
Yeah, and for that to happen, you may not realize what you have in August. It kind of just comes together. Some things have to go right for you. You got to stay healthy.
Yep.
You like other teams in your conference have to have bad games. So are we, as far as resetting our expectations, is like, you can't go out there and expect 10 every year unless you're like a dozen programs, right? So, but when you do, you better take advantage of it and go recruit that next year so you can do your best to sustain it to an extent. But like you said, you get a guy who goes out there and plays too well for you, you're going to have to consider replacing Mr. Too Well.
Yeah. And what are the odds you can do that? Very low.
No, and you cannot replace. Like there's no chance you have those kind of guys unless you are in a very unique situation, circumstance. Maybe like you're isolated, like Boise.
I've seen what I think is a trend. I might be wrong about this. Like I really haven't sat and really thought about it, but the conversations I've had with different people, I think there's a demographic or a segment of Appalachian fans that really did think all it was going to take is like a flip of the switch and everything would be normal again.
Right.
The coaching change
couldn't be any further from the truth on that.
Yeah.
It's
and
so bad.
I think that this is one of those instances where I love movies, so I'll make a movie reference here. In The Watchmen, if anybody's seen I don't want to spoil it, but anyway, it's been out since 2009. It's your fault if you didn't watch it. But there's the villain at the end. There's a villain at the end where the good guys come and what they think is to stop the villain before he hatches his plan. But what he's already done is he's already pushed the button that has already put into action the plan like hours ago. So they get there and they're literally hopeless. They're looking at the bad guy and he's already done it. He's like, no, I've already pushed the button. It's over. Like there's literally nothing you can do. I feel like there's a portion of App fans right now that are now experiencing that. Like the bell's been rung. Our best players are going to leave every year. It's going to be really hard to replace them every year. You know, when someone throws $1 million at your best offensive player and says, "Hey, what you're not getting," he's not coming back. When somebody goes after your best defensive lineman with $180,000 and you don't have that to give him or whatever, he's not coming back. Like, you're going to lose your best players, and then you're sitting there looking at the coaches saying, "Hey, we better win 10 games this year." It's the bell's been rung. I don't know statistically if you want to compile stuff. I don't know if like an 8-win season equals a 10-win season from 2 years. I don't know if I want to go that far, but this is the new world. We're not, this isn't 2018, 2019 anymore. Even 2020, let's say, this is a matured, crazy, systemized new order that we cannot stop. I posted this today on Twitter that freaking Hunter Yurachek, name check there, said that Sam Pittman, his head coach that he hired, did not have adequate resources to compete in the SEC. Arkansas, which forever has been known as like, they got that Walmart money, they got that Jerry Jones money. They're sitting there going like, we don't have enough money. If Arkansas don't have enough money and they got to, whatever, then what does that say? There are a handful of true top tier, top of the food chain teams that are out there slugging it out against each other, and then the rest have scraps. And that trickles all the way down.
It's like Major League Baseball on crack. Like, there's 136 programs. There's unlimited payroll, right? Right now, at least. Yeah. And who are the same teams that are good every year? The Yankees, the Dodgers, etc. Like the Milwaukee Brewers aren't coming out there year after year in college football, right? Like, that's just not happening.
Right.
So it's usually the ones who spend, who have, and every now and then the ones who spend have a year like the Braves just did, or like Clemson's having right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think in the past, there certainly was, if someone said, "Hey, just happy we show up, just be happy that we're here, just be happy that we have a football team." It's like, no, it's not good enough. I think saying that same thing today, "Hey, be happy with a bowl win," I think now more than ever that's not compromise. That's like genuine advice. Like, be happy you make a bowl game. Like that is becoming genuine, sound fan advice. It's never been harder to compete. If Arkansas is crying poor, then just keep your head on a swivel. Martin family. That was a good question, Brian. Thank you. Martin family, not a question, but an observation. We do a lot with the amount of money that we have. Not sure where Boise gets all their money, but they have a lot of it. Their game day experience is top notch, from the sound system, video boards, gimmicks to engage fans throughout the game. Yeah, I've heard that. That is true. Mikey C. I think this is Mike Clifton. It feels like there's no quote unquote team aspect this season, but more individuals. Is this a result of NFL staff, mindset, NIL, new head coach? Never felt this way before about App State football, even the short-lived Diet Mountain Dew era. It always felt like a team. I actually felt like last year was more like that than this year, just personally. I thought it was very interesting that when McCantos came on, Elijah McCantos came on the show, he talked about how there's an emphasis on teams cross position groups getting to know each other and spend time with each other. That's interesting. I certainly know that people talk about body language on the sideline and hype and stuff. I just my eyes are not drawn to that. I've only been to, obviously there's only been one home game, but I don't know if I'm seeing that, honestly. Charles, I don't know if you have thoughts on that. I just don't know if I'm seeing that.
I'm not either, but I think you can only look so excited when, you keep seeing the same thing. Like whether you're playing or whether you're not, when you keep seeing the same things happen over and over. All right. And that's what we've had happen this season. The same stuff over and over. If it was all this weird, crazy stuff that, the worst bounces of all time, we have had some of that, but not like all of it. But I mean, it just, for me, it continues to be the same thing over and over.
Yeah. This is from Henry Stout, Henry's buttering us up. His Twitter handle is 333 cricket noise.
Oh wow.
This is throwing it back, like way back. Hank Stout says, what does it take to build a successful program like App used to in this day? It seems like notable talent we discover is just legwork for the bigger programs and cherry pick. We just covered that.
Yeah.
So we won't elaborate. I do want to add a caveat. I do think the next step in this is contracts and buyouts to where marginal players, I hate to call, marginal players, but players that maybe aren't, like Joey Aguilar got paid
Slightly above average players.
Yeah, right. Well, he got yeah. Your words. Joey Aguilar got paid $1 million plus. We're not competing. Like no $100,000 buyout is going to prevent someone that's willing to pay $1 million to get a player from getting them. But just imagine if a really good player, you sign him to an NIL deal, and as part of it, you do say, if you leave to go somewhere else, here's the buyout. Here's the buyout for you to leave. And let's say that that's an amount of money that would cost the other program enough that it all of a sudden makes that investment in that player so much that it's not worth it anymore. I think there are ways with contracts and buyouts to keep some of these marginally good playmakers on the team without crushing us. I think that's the next step. Right now, there is no barrier. I think Jalen McLeod, this is the year of irresponsibility, so I'm just going to say it. I think Jalen McLeod, of course, this was early in NIL, relatively speaking. Time moves so fast. I think he got like $50,000 to go to Auburn. I think that's what it was. I could be way wrong with that, but Jalen McLeod, I don't know. So if you have a buyout, would Auburn have ponied up more? Am I making that up? Was that even accurate? I don't know, but I think buyouts will help us.
If we have buyouts, then we have to be paying it as well to the point where it's prohibitive to be bought out. So, which means you just got to fork up a lot more money, I think, up front at the end of the day. But
right, there are no obligations. Like,
yeah,
you can just leave. You say, all right, well,
right.
I'm gone.
Okay. There's nothing keeping you here.
Yeah, which goes when you do the math of like what it costs to put into a kid between recruiting budget, strength conditioning, nutrition, staff that you have developed a player. I mean, all of a sudden, like it become the output and the ROI is like rough there. Because you're doing the legwork with for someone else's player down the road. This is it for me on Twitter. We got one more thing here with Yosef's pipe. What's the one biggest improvement in the team that could be made? I'm sorry. I'm going to do this again since I'm struggling here. What is the one biggest improvement in this team that could be made that would change the outcome of our remaining conference games? Taking care of the ball. Stop giving the ball up. Stop giving the ball up. Stop putting the ball in the other person's hand. That is the number one thing. If we stop doing that, it gives us the best chance. Charles, anything?
I mean, we talked about that. There's no team that anyone feels like is head and shoulders above the rest in this conference. And like, how do you level that playing field? You give them extra possessions. That's how you're going to win and lose games. Is stealing one, forcing those turnovers and not losing that margin. That's how we lost games last year too. So,
yeah. All
right. So that was it in Twitter. We might have a little overlay here, but we will work through it. Starting with Nick Gord. Excuse me. I'll start with hitting all comments instead of most relevant. We're going to go. Sorry, Nick. You'll be next. Garrett Drawn. Hey, guys. I'd like to get your opinion on where to align your expectations for the reigning season. I was guilty of getting overhyped early. Now I've settled somewhere in the area of happy with not winning a bowl, in parentheses. Did we touch this on the post game a little? Like maybe I mentioned it in passing. Like, we're looking at 6-6. Like, I think we were kind of like playing our first game. We're somewhere in the middle. We can't be, really too far ahead of that and too far below that. Like, yeah, we kind of know
saying a 2-win. Yeah,
where we're going to fit in. It seems like it's pretty probable.
Yeah, like saying a 2-win season is ridiculous. Saying a 12-win season is ridiculous. Like we're somewhere in that range. What I do remember saying in the post game is before we played Southern Miss, I had said if we beat Southern Miss, I would feel more inclined to say, all right, this feels like a bowl team. After Southern Miss, it didn't feel like a bowl team. After Boise, it didn't. But what I will say to Garrett is the thing that's kind of brought me back, I guess up or down, whatever you want to say, is we are getting ready to play a Sun Belt conference, which we've already just mentioned, has lost most of its good players, like really good players. That doesn't mean every team was impacted equally. It doesn't, whatever. Conference play is going to be different than going against what we just went against in Boise. So we know over time, you get out of September, teams start buckling down and figuring out who the playmakers are and everything else. Logan said something really interesting about, he claims that they sit kids who aren't doing what they're told, or they're not doing it the right way or whatever, in favor of kids that are practicing the right way or doing whatever. He said that. Now, I don't know if that's played out. I don't know if mistakes are actually being punished with playing time or lack of playing time. I don't know. But figuring that stuff out now before conference play, I don't think it is. No, I don't think you throw the baby out with the bathwater right now at all. I just think that there's a lot of work to do. Offensive line's got to play better. Got to be better with drops and these interceptions. That has to improve. We're not going to go to a bowl if that stuff doesn't get at least a little better. Defense, I don't know, man. Body language, way they move, and everything else. I'm not worried about the defense really.
I think they're good enough right now. That side of the ball, it's good enough to compete. Nick Gord, here we are. Considering the depth of talent in the portal and the 93 years of NFL experience that broadcasts love to bring up, and the fact that the historical bottom feeders are able to microwave their programs into being competitive, are fans justified for being impatient and frustrated 1/3 of the way into the year?
I mean, it's okay to be frustrated. I'm frustrated. It's okay to be frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's unreasonable to.
I mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I may have had a little hiccup there. Hopefully, we didn't.
I think we did.
But the microwaving of the programs, I think, is the interesting part. Something came to mind to me a minute ago when I was pre-reading this about what Louisiana did, like in 18 and 19 with Billy Napier. We didn't have a portal era at that point, but they had a massive staff. Billy Napier was like, we want grad assistants like crazy. We want them to have that hands-on stuff. We want to know every little single situation. And then certainly they did hit on like some guys who had been around for a while that had built around. And that's what happened with Louisiana. And so it's very similar. And to me, it's very similar to you microwave with the portal, you microwave with doing something that school decided at that point in time, we're going to spend money for a couple of years on this program. And then when he is gone, because we know we won't have him forever, we will then pull the reins back. And now what are the articles that you see about Louisiana? They're $25 million in debt. And they're going to have massive cuts across athletics. What does that look like? Crazy thought. So I think there is something to that. I think that it certainly is frustrating that, do we want to compete year in and year out? Or are we going to sit here and go back and say, maybe in a year and a half will be good? Can you do that? Can you even project? Can you predict anything that? No, it's impossible.
No,
it's impossible to say. It's like saying Dustin Kern's like, man, you know what I want to do? That 4-game home stretch in January, man, I want to be playing our best ball right then. Is that good? No,
yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. No, I
might sell some moonshines, might sell some tickets, but other than that, it's not getting you to March.
Yeah, be frustrated, but let's not be unreasonable and ignore kind of the laws of physics as we do it. Like let's keep it real, but yeah, I'm frustrated. Like, what are we talking about? Yeah.
Chase Price. We keep hearing that this is a rebuilding year. I mean, I haven't heard a coach say that, but they're trying.
Dow Loggins didn't say that. Dow Loggins talked really big coming in. Dow Loggins talked about using the portal. And by the way, he put his flag in the ground. He said there were not every player left because they were cut or whatever. I mean, there's always going to be some attrition, but for the most part, 50 dudes were booted off the roster and said, best of luck, but we're going to try with somebody else. And that's what they've done. And they put their flag in the ground, and they being Dow, and said, I'm here to use the portal to recruit, to develop, and hire these coaches, and we're going to win. I mean, he has not said, he's gone the way of Dustin Kearns in that way and said, like I don't rebuilding is yeah.
It's a new year. We're going to take our guys and we're going to do what we can.
Yep.
Is there really such thing as a rebuilding year when there is so much turnover from the portal? I think this is like playing a slot machine. Like you dance in that portal long enough, you're going to get a mixed bag of lots of little different things. And one year to the next, you don't know if those guys are going to gel with each other. They're going to stick around the following year. Like, are you pulling in a guy for a year? You could pull in a guy for 2 or 3. How do you know he's not going to go somewhere else? Like, man, that's like, well, I just said, like, you can't predict what's going to happen in 18 months. Like, so
yeah.
Hope we're not repeating ourselves a lot. I do feel like we are, we've covered the same topics a little bit, but we move on to Cameron Taylor. We now know that Charlotte is just not that good.
Very observant.
I was very optimistic after the first game. Overall, the team looked to be performing better. I understand that we were working with completely new coaching staff, basically new roster. However, since week 1, it seems we have taken a downward turn. Productivity, execution, discipline. Where do you think the season goes from here? Have we reached our ceiling already? That's kind of like what are our expectations? What kind of record do you think we're going to have?
No, I don't think we've reached our ceiling. I think we could be better for sure.
I think we'll feel a lot better about ourselves. I hope we'll feel a lot better about ourselves in the last 7 games or so of the year.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I really do.
Will tell us a lot. Janice Hogan. All of these comments and questions are thought out. They're not short. It's not like, what's your favorite cookie from
really good
from Blue Deer?
They're really good.
Coach Loggins talked about the importance of recruiting and how we as fans can help by being at the game, being early, and being loud. We do that. I think we've got that covered. Yeah. He's not teaching us something new here. All right. He mentioned the Mountaineer Walk, but by shortening it so much, he took it away from many of the fans. Not having the team show their enthusiasm with pointing and the jumping that they used to do during kickoffs affects the fan engagement, especially with the play on the field being down. This year, we need something to get excited about. How can we impress upon him that things he has changed are hurting our engagement? Wow.
Ooh, Janice,
sold.
Janice, send me your address.
Yeah,
because you got a cookie on the way. That's the best question of the day because it's balanced, it's tempered, but poignant.
And I don't think we need to comment any further.
Let me say this. I talked to a former player about the Mountaineer Walk deal, and this particular player was very disappointed because that was one of the only ways that players on game day can feel the energy from the fans and connect. And taking that away, new players might not know what they're missing, but certainly players that have been around do. So it's a shame.
We have talked a lot about 55 new players, right? Have we talked enough about the ones who didn't leave?
No, I don't think so.
No, me either.
No, and I just if you want, I mean, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, folks. I mean,
grease.
It does. So I love that.
Janice, enjoy your cookie sandwich, ice cream. You should get extra sprinkles. Jay Neal, some say football is the greatest team sport. It's maybe the only sport in which only 3 of the 11 offensive players touch the ball in any given play, and 4 offensive positions are designed to never touch the ball. Is part of what we're seeing from this App State offense a lack of teamwork? Could it be coaching, experience together, or some combination thereof?
I don't think it's that complicated.
Yeah. I'll give something to the effect of the gelling part. I think that there is something to be said for that. And I've worried about that for a couple of years. But it feels like that's not going away. We're going to have this.
You're just going to deal with that.
Just churn. So.
But I also think that maybe what's being a little undersold is if we have 2 tackles, like 2 starting tackles that are really like hurt and not up to snuff. I mean, that's a significant. I mean, we shouldn't just brush that aside. Like if we're dinged up to that point, that could be a huge contributor why AJ is getting drilled. And I'm not pointing any one player out, but like I saw Jaden like limping on TV and like props to the freaking offensive linemen don't get stats. They don't get numbers. They're in there to protect their quarterback and help win football games. But I mean, if we are playing without fully healthy players on the line, which almost is always the case, that could be a big deal too. But I've talked to enough and know enough offensive linemen that time together really does matter. But to your point, Charles, like how many? I mean, on a year-to-year basis, are you really going to get that? Maybe maybe that's being undersold a little bit on the offensive line.
Perhaps. Yeah. It's probably something to that. We'll see on the injury report.
Yeah. There won't be one because it's not a conference game.
We'll get something in the radio show.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay. Very good.
Chip Buckwell, watch the Monday presser. Are we a Jordan Brand school now? So I think there are some lucky individuals who have maybe been able to get a hold of some of these Jordan Brand polos, or we've stitched our logos on there. Chip, sorry, I have one very similar. So not like Dow's, but hey, it must be a hall pass thing. Kalen Pegg, the last one. In the 333 Club. In previous years, we could see former players taking to social media and scrutinizing performances as struggling against an FCS opponent or getting blown out by a peer program. Is the lack of football alum chatter due to lowered expectations with a new staff and roster? Or are these signs of the new norm in the portal and NIL era? Players will always share a bond with those they played with, but it feels like the affinity for the program and interest in its future success is being eroded. Reach down in that bag of cookies and get me another.
That's the saddest one I've ever. Who was that, by the way?
Kalen Pegg.
Oh man, that is legitimately depressing. Yeah, that's why.
Mm-hmm. It hurts.
Yeah.
Oh, so let's stop. Yeah, we sit there and say, what did we just say a minute ago? We talk about these 55 new ones, but man, can we put more focus on the other ones that are still here who said, I'll continue to give my all?
Dude, so who I just thought about was Tyreek Funderburk. So Tyreek played 4 years at Richmond. He followed Coach West up to Appalachian. This was 23. And dude was like an A+ citizen, really good player, great dude.
Pod.
He was on the show, on the pod. Yeah. Like I got to know him a little bit. Like could not have loved Appalachian more in his circumstance. And like, God bless Tyreek, but like, is he, first of all, again, this has nothing to do with him, really commenting on like the length that he played. I mean, who's sitting there wondering what Tyreek is saying or posting in like that? He was only here a year. So great player, great guy, great young man, played in the NFL, but is he really, just by the nature of how long he was here or how short he was here, not even here a full calendar year? That's why, like Darrington Evans and Zach Thomas and these guys that we've traditionally seen Thomas Hennigan post, like what's going on, blah, blah. They were here for 5 years, 4 or 5 years. They were recruited as 17-year-olds, they went through it. So when you got a more mercenary system, I'm sorry to say it like that, but when you have a more mercenary type system, you're just not going to have as much invested with a guy that's been here a year or two. God bless the guys that are here 2 years,
I think our maybe something that's been underrated here is that, when we went FBS and we still had some characteristics of that FCS school, guys stuck around, and then 2020 hit, the switch flipped, and we hadn't been in FBS long enough to win, long enough to go to some bowl games and win some conference championships. But then all of a sudden the game changed for us in what was truly our FBS infancy. It almost wasn't fair. And I think this is the result of it. Does that matter if we were like Boise, who had been FBS for 20 years longer almost? I don't know. It's like it's a weird place to be. Certainly, I've had these comments with other people, or shared these thoughts. Like, is this just what it is anymore? Yeah. I don't think anyone although we can almost assume it is, I still don't think anyone is ready to truly accept it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so app fan 24, Janice Hogan and Kaylin Pegg. Get us your address. Put some cards in the mail. I may need to get reloaded from Austin, but man, that was and nothing. Kaylin was just keeping it real there and asking a genuine question.
No, it's not.
But it is.
It's real stuff. That's what we're facing.
And this is what we had the Charles. You missed out on this one, but we had the FTC guys on. I think this summer or August, or I don't remember when. Maybe it was last spring. I don't know. Everything's running together. I got a 4-month-old upstairs that we're trying to keep alive. But one of the things that all those guys were just so like this lifelong bond these dudes have, talking about other guys that they have lifelong bonds with and how much passion they have for this place and how much they care about Appalachian State, in App State football and blah, blah, blah. But then they'll say, yeah, but we would have left. I'm sorry, I put words in their mouth, but saying, well, yeah, but guys are going to leave for money or whatever. And just hearing them, it's like, do you not hear how much value is coming out of the stories and the way you feel about all this? Mm-hmm. Like you have a home forever. You have 5 years worth of stories from red shirt all the way through you playing like forever. You have that forever. Like, is there not a dollar value on like the way that was at that time? Like, I understand cash flow and opportunity. Totally understand that. And I'm not. Markel Samuel left in May or whenever it was, and Oklahoma State said, hey, here's a whole bunch of money. You want it? And I get it. But I think what's being undersold is you got a home forever. You make good decisions and you work hard or whatever, but you have a home and a brotherhood forever that just doesn't exist anymore. It's so sad.
And his coach gets fired, after a month after losing to Trey Lamb,
Yeah, well, yeah.
There's another Trey Lamb shout out.
Shout out Trey Lamb.
And then what's that like, right? Like,
yeah,
is that what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah.
Mekhi Jackson, not on Indiana's roster.
Yeah.
Maintains his eligibility for the year.
Yeah.
Where does he land next?
UMass. No, I like Mekhi. That was a joke about what's his name that did that. Went to I don't remember his name now. Sorry.
I hear you.
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a wrap for the Satchel. We're gonna anything else, Charles, before we toss over to our guest?
Man, I think we've we're ending this Satchel, I don't think, in any other way we have, and I thought we would have not said that after last week.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah. Wow. I will say, I think this, we've done quite a few episodes, hundreds, literally. This is as strong as a Satchel as I think we've ever had. This was
in recent memory, yes, and
this is heat.
So
yeah, for sure. So thank you, everybody, literally everybody, for contributing. This was awesome. Great thoughts and very, very thoughtful. Thoughtful thoughts, but they really were. Thank you so much. But yeah, we're going to toss to Brendan Slaughter, who is the publisher for Beaver's Edge, and that is on On3 Sports. We had a good conversation with him, so stay tuned for that. And that is a segment sponsored by Mountaineer Mania, 497 West King Street, Boone, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., Friday, 10 a.m. to 9, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sunday, 1 to 5 p.m. And shout out, because we went to Mountaineer Mania on Saturday, and I got my daughter a one of those Mountaineer Mania, like the logo, like a really nice, almost like it's kind of like fleece, but not really, like a hoodie. It was awesome, and I saw it, and I knew I had to get it for her. But very fashionable items. There's an item there. Shout out. They got jerseys and polos and everything else. There's a great knit sweater, ladies sweater that has like App State written across the chest and these nice, like kind of vintage, almost looking, almost like 80s, 90s App State. Really nice looking stuff. Very fashionable items there, not just t-shirts and stuff. So, and then proceeds from every purchase you make will make its way back to Appalachian State Sports. which is awesome. Go check them out on social media. And we thank them for being our special guest sponsor. So sit tight, get a smoking jacket, a nice cigar or a pipe, a favorite beverage of yours, whether it's hot or cold. Find a comfortable place to sit and get ready to hear the soothing sounds of Beaver's Edge publisher, Britton Slaughter.